Old age doesn't destroy you. You're destroyed by 11 repeated acts of neglect over the years, the ones you call "it's no big deal" today, and that turn into pills, dependence, debt, silence in the house, and a dignity begging for attention tomorrow. The cruelest part is that almost no one falls apart because of a tragedy. They fall apart because of small, foolish, comfortable decisions, because of that pride that isolates you, that laziness disguised as, "what's the point anyway?" That disorder that steals your independence without asking permission. Stay with me. Gabriel here. Welcome to the Stoic Garden. Today we're going to walk through 11 fatal mistakes that ruin your life in old age, and by the time we finish, you'll have a clear framework to prevent them and regain inner control, boundaries, calm, and self-respect before it's too late. Because the last mistake is the one that quietly shuts everything else down without you even noticing. Now let's get into it. Mistake number 1, ignoring your health and putting off what keeps you on your feet. And I'm not talking about becoming obsessive. I'm talking about the basics, the obvious things, the things a responsible adult does even when they don't feel like it. Checkups, follow-ups, medication when needed, eating like someone who respects themselves, moving your body even a little. Because old age doesn't care whether you were busy. It shows up and collects. The problem is that most people treat the body like it's doing them a favor, like it's an employee that never complains. Today something hurts and you cover it with, "it'll pass." Tomorrow you feel dizzy and call it stress. The day after you get winded climbing stairs and say it's just age. As if age were some official excuse signed and stamped to stop maintaining your own life. And the worst part is that silent arrogance of believing that if you don't look at it, it doesn't exist. Like a child covering their eyes and thinking the monster disappears. Your blood pressure doesn't go away because you don't check it. Your sugar levels don't become noble just because you believe in them. Your heart doesn't turn young because you say, "I'm fine." The bill still comes. It just comes with interest, and that interest is called dependence, fear, loss of mobility, and emergency room visits that could have been a calm appointment years earlier. Do you really think your body is going to forgive that habit of postponing everything forever? Do you think that because you held up for a long time, that means it was sustainable? Some people feel strong because they've endured through sheer toughness, but they confuse endurance with health. Enduring isn't living well, it's surviving by brute force. And this is where the Stoics were brutal, not because they were cold, but because they were practical. Ryan Holiday, a modern popularizer of Stoicism and not some smoke-selling guru, puts it with a line that works like a hammer. Excellence isn't born from a burst of motivation. It comes from repeating high standards when no one is applauding you. Applied to your health, it's simple, not dramatic. You do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it, because your future doesn't negotiate with your feelings. Your health is not an aesthetic project. It's your infrastructure. It's what allows you to choose. Choose to go out. Choose to travel. Choose to live alone if that's what you want. Choose to say no without trembling. When you lose it, you start asking permission. Permission from your body to walk. Permission from the doctor to sleep. Permission from others to drive you, care for you, organize your life. And then you wonder why you feel small. So stop romanticizing later. Put your checkup on the calendar the way you do your bills. Review what you take, what you eat, how you sleep, how much you move. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. And if that word bothers you today, consistency, it's because you know you've spent too long making it all up as you go. Because when you grow old, what saves you isn't optimism. It's habit. And if you don't build it now, later on you won't just be short on motivation. You'll be short on options. And speaking of options, there's another mistake that takes your breath away just as fast, only you don't feel it in your chest. You feel it in your wallet and in your silent shame. Mistake number 2, spending without control and arriving at old age empty-handed but full of excuses. Because yes, you can arrive with stories, with memories, with "I deserved it," with "you only live once." But when it's time to pay for medication, fix the house, or simply live with peace of mind, memories can't be traded for food, electricity, or independence. The tragedy is not buying yourself something once in a while. The tragedy is living as if the future were a myth. It's that habit of rewarding yourself for anything, spending to soothe anxiety, going into debt to keep up appearances, not even knowing how much comes in or goes out, and still walking around with the confidence of someone who believes there will always be a magical solution. Spoiler: there won't be. What there is discipline or consequences. And if it hurts to hear that, good. Because what hurts is showing you where you're being irresponsible with yourself. A lot of people in old age aren't trapped by a lack of money. They're trapped by a lack of order. This isn't about being rich. It's about not being a child pretending to be an adult. It's about money stopping being an impulse and becoming a tool. And of course, here comes the uncomfortable part. How many spending decisions have you made just to feel valuable for 5 minutes? How many purchases were quick applause because inside you felt empty, tired, or frustrated? Most people don't spend out of need. They spend out of emotion. Then the emotion fades, and you're left with the debt, the stress, and that feeling that you've been scammed by your own impulse. Old age becomes hard when you depend on others. And financial dependence is one of the most humiliating kinds, because it puts you in the position of asking, of justifying, of putting up with things. Today you laugh when someone talks about saving, as if it was something for boring people. But tomorrow you'll look at your bank account and realize that freedom always had a price, and you paid it in foolishness. Start simple, without the drama. Learn what comes in, what goes out, and what is eating away at your peace of mind. Separate what's essential from what is pure whim disguised as a need. Put some order in place, even if it's basic, and make saving automatic. Not a promise that has to compete with your cravings. Because if you leave it up to willpower, your willpower will always show up tired at the end of the month. And no, this isn't about living in fear. It's about living with respect. Respect for your future self. Respect for the home that will hold you up. Respect for your ability to decide without having to ask anyone's permission. When your life is in order, you become harder to manipulate, because no one can sell you just anything with the threat of, "But what if tomorrow?" And this connects directly to the next mistake, because when you don't have health, you depend on others, and when you don't have financial order, you depend on others. And when you depend too much, sooner or later someone starts making decisions for you, even if they dress it up as help. Mistake number 3, letting other people decide for you. And be careful, I'm not talking about accepting help when you need it. I'm talking about that slow, comfortable, almost invisible surrender where one day someone recommends something and you give in. The next day someone organizes your life and you get used to it. And before you realize it, you no longer have an opinion, no longer choose, no longer have authority over your schedule, your home, or your own body. This happens to a lot of people with a smile on their face. It's for your own good, they tell you, and to avoid tension you nod. After all, what difference does it make? It makes a difference. It makes a difference because respect has a memory. When you become compliant because you're afraid of making others uncomfortable, the world learns that it can do whatever it wants with you. First, they change the plan, then they change your life, and in the end they even change your voice. They treat you like a fragile package labeled "handle with care," but with no right to decide where it goes. And the most dangerous part is that it doesn't begin with malice. It begins with your lack of boundaries. It begins with not saying no when something doesn't work for you, with signing things without reading them, with delegating out of mental laziness, with letting someone else handle your finances, your appointments, your medical decisions, your movements. And yes, there will be situations where you need support, but even then there's a huge difference between being supported and being controlled. Halfway down that road, you ask yourself a question that chills you, even if you never say it out loud. When did I become a guest in my own life? When did I stop defending my own judgment and start asking permission to exist? And because that question is uncomfortable, you bury it again. But burying it doesn't kill it. It just eats away at you from the inside. The Stoics had a healthy obsession with this inner rule. James Stockdale, an admiral who survived years as a prisoner of war by clinging to Epictetus, said it without poetry: "You can chain my body, but you have no authority over my judgment or my will." That is autonomy. It's not shouting, it's not fighting with everyone. It's keeping hold of the wheel even when the sea is rough. So if you want to grow old with dignity, start practicing something that makes many people break out in hives: deciding. Deciding what you accept, what you don't accept, who gets an opinion, and who gets authority. Setting boundaries without apologizing, asking questions, reading. Keeping your documents in order, knowing what you want if one day you're ill, Not to live in paranoia, but to live freely, because freedom isn't improvised when you're already weak. It's trained while you can still stand on your own. And if this strikes a nerve, good, because what comes next is the next silent poison. Some people don't lose autonomy because others control them. They lose it because they lock themselves away and no one can help them, even if they want to. Mistake number 4, isolating yourself out of pride. That phrase, "I can handle it on my own," sounds strong when you still have energy, but in old age it can become a sentence. Because one thing is being self-sufficient, and something very different is living like a stone, never asking for anything, never sharing anything, never opening the door to anyone until the silence starts talking to you too much. Many people isolate themselves because of old wounds, disappointments, betrayals, exhaustion, and I understand that. But there's an ugly trap there. You turn your pain into your identity. You convince yourself that withdrawing protects you, when in reality it slowly dims you. You start saying people are just like that. No one is worth it anymore. Better off alone. And you say it with that calm superiority of someone who thinks they've figured it all out. Sure, figured out. Except now you have no one to call when you fall, when you get dizzy, when a strange night scares you, when your head and your heart both feel heavy at the same time. Loneliness doesn't always arrive as sadness. Sometimes it arrives as routine. You get up, eat something, watch TV, go to bed. No one bothers you. No one expects anything from you. No one challenges you. And at first that looks like peace, but then it becomes a comfortable cage. And the most dangerous thing about comfortable cages is that you don't realize you're trapped until one day you can't breathe. In the middle of all this, another question appears that many people avoid. Are you really choosing to be alone? Or are you punishing the world because it didn't turn out the way you wanted? Because if it's punishment, the prisoner is you. And if it's pride, the same thing applies. Pride in old age doesn't make you strong, it makes you unreachable, and being unreachable is not elegance, it's a slow way of disappearing. You need people, not to depend on them like a child, but to be supported like an adult. You need a real conversation, a visit, a neighbor, a friendship, a community, someone to remind you that you're still part of something. And that gets built beforehand, not once you already feel alone. It gets built with small gestures, with presence, with humility, by accepting that you are not an island and that asking for company doesn't reduce your worth, it restores your humanity. And when you isolate yourself, something else happens. Your mind fills with stories, you ruminate, you rewrite the past, you replay arguments, you invent motives, and without realizing it, isolation becomes the breeding ground for the next mistake, one of the most corrosive of them all. Resentment, that poison that makes you grow old inside long before the body shows it. Mistake number 5, living with resentment. And this isn't cheap poetry, it's pure chemistry. Resentment keeps your body tense, your face hardened, your mind chewing over the same thing like an old cow chewing rotten grass. It steals your sleep, your peace, your years of useful life. And on top of that, it makes you believe you're being fair, that you're remembering, that you're putting in their place the person who failed you. But the only one you put in their place is yourself, stuck in a corner, bitter, watching life go by with a frown. Some people reach old age carrying a whole museum of grievances. Every room holds a betrayal, an abandonment, a humiliation. And yes, many of those things were real. No one is saying you invented your pain. What I'm telling you is that turning that pain into a permanent residence is an elegant form of slow suicide. Because resentment doesn't punish the other person. Most of the time, the other person doesn't even remember. Resentment punishes you every single day, as if you were serving a sentence for a crime you didn't commit. In the middle of that inner wreckage, a very common trap appears, confusing forgiveness with surrender. If I let go, they win. If I forgive, I justify it. If I move on, it'll look like it didn't matter. And so you stay there, clinging to the wound as if it were a medal, as if suffering were proof of self-respect. No, self-respect is not clinging to garbage. It's taking it out of your house. Epictetus, who was a slave before he became a philosopher, said it with a clarity that still stings because it's true. It's not things themselves that disturb you, but what you tell yourself about them. And when you've spent decades repeating the same story to yourself, the problem is no longer what happened. The problem is that you became the obsessive narrator of your own tragedy. This is not about swallowing what they did to you, or going back to the person who hurt you, or pretending everything is fine. It's about cutting the wire that keeps electrocuting you. Sometimes that wire is a conversation that still needs to happen. Sometimes it's accepting that no one is ever going to apologize to you. Sometimes it's stopping yourself from explaining your side to people who do not want to understand. Sometimes it's releasing old guilt that fixes nothing and only keeps you kneeling before a past that will not change. Because if you reach old age full of bitterness, it's not just you that gets old. Your gaze gets old. Your voice gets old. It shows in the way you criticize, the way you distrust, the way you look at other people as potential enemies. And no one wants to be close to someone who smells like emotional poison. Then you wonder why people pull away. And no, it's not that no one is worth it. It's that living with you became exhausting. Let it go for hygiene, for dignity, for your health, not for them. And if it's hard, start by recognizing the simplest truth. Your peace is worth more than your pride. Because the day your body begins to fail, what holds you up is not resentment. It's the serenity you built. And that takes me straight to the next mistake, the one that turns your body into a real cage, not a symbolic one. Mistake number 6, not moving. And I'm not talking about running marathons or turning yourself into some Instagram athlete. I'm talking about the bare minimum that keeps you independent, because the body is brutally honest. What you don't use, you lose. Muscle, balance, mobility, coordination, endurance. All of it starts to unravel if you treat it like it's optional, as if life were all in your head, and the body were just some accessory dragging behind you. People say, "I'm old now," as if it were a law of nature that forces you to hunch over, shuffle, breathe badly, lose strength, and become dependent. And of course, aging brings changes. No one is denying that. What is a comfortable lie, though, is using age as an excuse to stop doing what keeps you functional. That "what's the point anyway" is a soft drug. It relaxes you, removes responsibility, gives you permission, and then it sends you the bill. Halfway down that road, when you start avoiding stairs, when sitting down makes it hard to get back up, when a stumble is no longer a scare but a threat, the question nobody wants to hear shows up. Is age really beating you? Or is it the habit of never pushing yourself anymore? Because there's a huge difference between unavoidable wear and tear and voluntary neglect. Moving is more than health, it's power. It's being able to get up by yourself, go to the bathroom without help, carry your own bags, open your own door, get on a bus without feeling like a burden, walk without being afraid of falling. It's physical dignity, and physical dignity is built through daily discipline, through simple repetition, through boring consistency. That walk you didn't brag about. Those basic exercises nobody applauded. That stretch that felt ridiculous until one day it kept you from getting injured. And here comes the sarcasm some people hate, even though they need it. Plenty of people protect their phone with a case, a screen protector, insurance, cleaning, and leave their body without maintenance, without strength, without movement, without anything. Of course, when the phone falls, you panic. When you fall, you say, "Well, that's normal." Normal is whatever you repeat, and if what you repeat is neglect, then dependence will become your normal. You don't need heroics. You need continuity. The body responds, it adapts, at any age with the right stimulus, with patience. And every day you move, you're making an internal declaration, "I'm still in charge. I'm not waiting for my life to shrink on its own. I'm defending my autonomy with small actions." Because when you stop moving, it's not just the body that weakens. The mind weakens too. You become more anxious, more shut down, more irritable. And then another mistake shows up. One people normalize as if it were just part of life. Sleeping badly, living exhausted, dragging yourself through the day as if that were acceptable. Mistake number 7, sleeping badly and normalizing exhaustion. Living with your battery in the red as if it were a personality trait. You wake up tired, drag yourself through the day on coffee, go to bed late because you're not sleepy, wake up at 3 in the morning with your mind running like a courtroom, and the next day you do it all over again. And you call that life. Sleep is not a luxury for disciplined people. Sleep is the workshop where your body repairs itself and your mind becomes useful again. When you sleep badly, everything gets harder. It's harder to regulate your emotions, harder to make good decisions, harder to move, harder even to be kind. You become more irritable, more anxious, more impulsive. And in old age, That is dynamite, because one stumble from fatigue is not just a scare, it's a fall with consequences. At some point in that miserable routine, something shows up that many people don't want to admit. You've gotten used to living half-broken. You've gotten used to functioning in a mental fog with headaches, poor concentration, and the mood of a cranky old dog. And because you do it every day, you think it's normal. It's not normal, it's chronic. And chronic problems are not fixed with willpower, they're fixed by respecting your biology. And here's the question you should ask yourself when you're already on your third straight day of dragging around exhaustion. Do you really think you can build a dignified old age with a brain that never rests and a body that never recovers? Because poor sleep doesn't just take away your energy, it takes away your clarity. And without clarity, you become easy to manipulate, easy to slide into bad habits, easy to give up. The sarcasm here is simple. Some people refuse to compromise on their shows, their phone, their late-night conversations. They're just a little longer. But they bargain away their sleep as if sleep were some indulgence. Then they act surprised when their memory slips, their anxiety rises, their body hurts more, their patience disappears. Of course, if you deny the system its maintenance, the system will collect. This isn't about becoming perfect. It's about doing the basics consistently, having a decent bedtime, cutting off the stimulation that keeps you wired, quieting the mental noise, being careful about what you drink later in the day, moving your body enough during the day so that night arrives with healthy tiredness. Because sleep is a habit, and if you don't protect it, no one will protect it for you. And when sleep breaks down, the next mistake usually comes right behind it. The most common one, and the one most disguised as, "I deserve it." Eating and drinking to calm your anxiety, and that's when the body really starts paying interest. Mistake number 8, eating and drinking out of anxiety. Not out of real hunger, but out of inner noise, out of tension, sadness, boredom. That feeling that something is missing that you try to cover with sugar, bread, fried food, alcohol, whatever numbs you for a little while. And yes, it works, of course it works, for 5 minutes. Then the emptiness comes back, only now with guilt on top and a body that's a little more inflamed. Old age does not forgive repeated excess. Your metabolism changes, the body becomes less tolerant, your joints complain, your digestive system becomes more sensitive, your blood pressure rises, your blood sugar goes out of control, your liver gets tired. And you keep acting like your body is 20 because you've always eaten like this. Yes, and you've always paid very little for it, until one day you pay for all of it at once. In the middle of this cycle comes the most popular form of self-deception on the planet. I'm in control. The same thing said by the person who has just one drink to sleep, the one who snacks all day, but only a little, the one who serves another portion because today was hard. Are you really in control, or are you just sedating yourself with food and drink so you don't have to face what you feel? Because when food becomes anesthesia, it's no longer nutrition. It's emotional dependence with a pleasant taste. Musonius Rufus, a Roman Stoic teacher who insisted on practical discipline, put it plainly: whoever cannot govern their simplest appetites will struggle to sustain higher decisions. And it makes perfect sense. If you can't govern the urge to eat what is destroying you, how are you going to govern major decisions when life really squeezes you? This is not about living punished or turning into some gloomy monk. It's about taking back command, about learning to distinguish hunger from anxiety again, about stopping the use of your mouth as an escape hatch, about eating like someone who wants to stay free, not like someone getting ready to become dependent. Because every repeated excess doesn't just make you sick, it weakens you. And when you weaken, you become easier to control, more vulnerable, more afraid. And the most ironic part is that many people eat and drink to calm down, but what they create is even more anxiety. A spike, a crash, guilt, fatigue, worse sleep, less movement, more emotional hunger. A perfect cycle for aging fast, inside and out. If your peace, your independence, and your dignity matter to you, this has to be taken seriously. Not dramatically, firmly. Because what comes next is no longer just about general health, it's something much more delicate. There are intimate decisions and relationships in old age that, if handled carelessly, won't just cost you a day. They can cost you years of peace. Mistake number 9, getting into relationships and making intimate decisions carelessly. And this is where many people get nervous, as if talking about this were somehow in poor taste. What's really in poor taste is ruining yourself out of naivety. Desire does not disappear in later life, but vulnerability does increase. There's more loneliness, more need for companionship, more desire to feel alive, and also more people willing to take advantage of that. Because it's not just about sex. It's about who you let into your life. It's about what arrangements you accept because you're afraid of ending up alone. It's that relationship that starts out harmless and ends with someone weighing in on your children, your money, your house, your schedule, your medical decisions. It's that rushed trust, that impulsive surrender, that romantic idea that someone has finally arrived, and so you switch off your radar. And yes, there's the physical side too. Many people think sexually transmitted diseases are a young person's issue. Of course, because bacteria and viruses have impeccable ethics and respect age, right? In old age, people let their guard down, use less protection, talk less about it, and suddenly a problem appears that steals your peace, forces you into treatment, fills you with shame, and damages the health of a body that no longer recovers the same way. In the middle of all this, there's a question worth gold, but almost no one asks it when they're excited or needy. Is this adding life to me? Or is it buying me with crumbs only to charge me dearly later? Because when you're starved for affection, you can mistake attention for love and urgency for connection. And that's when you get into trouble that isn't just about the bedroom, it's about your mind and your money. This doesn't mean becoming paranoid or living without affection. It means becoming an adult. Speak clearly, protect your health. Don't hand over your intimacy the way you'd hand over the keys to your house. Don't make important decisions when you're lonely and desperate for company. And if there are medications, medical conditions, fatigue, or strange symptoms, get them checked. Your pride won't heal you. Your discipline will. Because one thing is enjoying this stage of life with dignity, and another is playing with fire just to feel young for 5 minutes. And when that area falls into disorder, everything falls into disorder. Your calm, your family, your finances, your reputation, your health. And if you don't take care here, the next mistake finishes crushing you in an even quieter way. You keep carrying responsibilities that are no longer yours, as if life had no stages. Mistake number 10. Not adapting your life to your stage of life. Continuing to live as if your body had the same energy, as if your time were infinite, as if you were everyone's official savior. And I see this all the time in good people, the kind who always solved everything, always held things together, always stepped up. The problem is that one day that virtue becomes a sentence, because no one lets go of you if you don't let go first. You keep carrying the problems of adult children who should already be standing on their own. You keep supporting family dynamics where you are the bank, the therapist, the driver, the one who endures, the one who stays quiet. You keep saying yes out of habit, not choice. And because you've done it for so many years, you convince yourself that if you stop, you become selfish. No. If you don't stop, you become a martyr, and martyrs always end up either bitter or broken. Halfway through, a brutal confusion appears. Are you being responsible? Or are you avoiding being alone with yourself? Because some people stay busy so they don't have to look at the emptiness, so they don't have to admit that their life needs redesigning. And redesigning hurts because it means saying, not this anymore. It means letting go of roles. It means admitting that your stage of life has changed. But denying it doesn't keep you young. It just keeps you exhausted. Seneca, a Roman with power and real problems, said that it's not that we have too little time, but that we waste a great deal of it. He didn't say that to depress you. He said it to wake you up. At this stage, your time is worth more than your need to keep everyone happy. And your energy doesn't stretch the way it used to. If you keep living as if your body were unlimited, you'll end up paying with your health. And once you pay with your health, you're no longer helping anyone. You're the one asking for help. Adapting your life is not surrender. It's becoming strategic. It's simplifying where you can, asking for support where it belongs, setting boundaries without over-explaining, changing routines so they support you instead of draining you. It's stopping the performance of showing the world that you can still do it all, and starting to build a life you can actually sustain with calm. Because if you don't adjust the weight will adjust you. And then comes mistake number 11, the saddest one. The one that doesn't break you on the outside but on the inside. giving up your purpose and living only to survive, as if dignity were some luxury. Mistake number 11, giving up your purpose and living in survival mode. This is the one that finishes off everything that came before, because you can have some health, some order, even people around you. But if you go dark inside, old age becomes one long waiting room. You get up, go through the motions, eat something, look at the clock, go to bed. Then the next day the same thing, not out of peace, but out of inertia. It happens to many people without them realizing it. One day they stop learning, stop creating, stop contributing, stop feeling useful for anything that actually means something. And I'm not talking about working until you die. I'm talking about having a reason why that keeps you awake. Because when your day has no direction, every pain weighs twice as much and every problem takes over. And here's the cruel part. People think purpose is a luxury, something nice for those who got lucky. It isn't. Purpose is mental hygiene. It's what gives you structure when the body doesn't cooperate, when loneliness bites, when the world treats you like your part is already over. If you treat yourself that way too, you're signing your own disappearance ahead of time. In the middle of that inner shutdown, painful but necessary questions begin to appear. What genuinely excites you right now, even if it's small? What would you do even if no one applauded, even if you weren't paid, even if it didn't come out perfect? If you have no answer, it's not because you can't anymore. It's because you gave up without ever declaring it, like someone sinking into the couch and deciding they're not moving from there again. And be careful with the trap of, I've done enough already. Yes, you've done things, of course, but living is not an exam you pass and then get permission to disconnect from. That speech is an elegant form of emotional laziness. Sometimes what you call rest is neglect. Sometimes what you call peace is resignation. And resignation shows. You can smell it. It makes you bitter, fragile, dependent on entertainment, so you don't have to hear yourself inside. Purpose in old age changes shape. It can be taking care of your health as an act of respect. It can be teaching someone, writing, reading with hunger, walking with discipline, building a simple routine, helping in a community, cultivating a craft, putting your home in order, making peace with yourself, leaving something clean behind. It doesn't have to be grand, it has to be real. It's your life saying, I'm still here and I'm still choosing. And yes, there will be days when you don't feel like it. Welcome to adulthood. The point is not to feel inspired. The point is to have a commitment to yourself. Because when there is no purpose, the emptiness comes. And when emptiness comes, the worst habits return wearing new clothes. Eating out of anxiety, sleeping badly, isolating yourself, spending money just to feel something. It all comes back because a mind without direction looks for anesthesia. So if you want an old age with dignity, stop waiting to feel ready. Start with something small, steady and yours. Something that doesn't depend on approval. Something that doesn't depend on other people giving you permission. Your purpose doesn't make you young, it makes you alive. And at any stage of life, that is the difference between merely existing and truly remaining on your feet. Old age is not the problem. The problem is arriving there with a neglected body, a disordered mind, and a surrendered character. Everything we covered today points to the same truth. If you do not build inner control, habits, and boundaries while you still can, later on you will have to negotiate your life with illness, with dependence, and with other people's opinions. What's practical is simple, even if it isn't comfortable. Start treating your health as a priority, your money as a tool, your decisions as your territory, your relationships as nourishment, and your purpose as oxygen. You do not need to do it perfectly. You need to do it consistently because dignity does not appear by luck. It appears when you keep repeating self-respect even on ordinary days, even when no one is watching. If this video held a mirror up to you, subscribe and join me in this training of character. And write in the comments, I am Stoic, along with the country you're listening from, so we can find each other among people who are tired of living on autopilot and have decided to lead themselves again. Gabriel here. This was the Stoic Garden. On your screen you'll see 2 recommended videos to keep going deeper and reinforce what you started today. Don't leave it as an intention. Bring it into your day because your future does not need promises. It needs decisions.